looks quite reasonable for my opponent. I'm desperately trying to stop knight e4, so I'm going to play f5 here. Kind of aware that I'm leaving my king in the centre for longer than is strictly a good idea. My opponent's probably going to notice and play bishop b5 check at some moment, but he's chosen not to right now. Kind of feels like the kind of position that I'm supposed to be a pawn up in, because he's got the two bishops in a nice pawn centre, but somewhere along the line I forgot to grab the extra pawn. And my opponent's just trying to work out which way to recapture. He's worried about queen takes f3, knight h4 ideas. But he's obviously come to the conclusion that that I don't have any tricks there. Knight takes. I think he's right. Knight h4. He just goes queen f2. And then what am I going to play? I don't see anything. I have to develop pieces here. I'm just going to drop a pawn though, which is annoying. So I'm going to drop the queen back to f6 to hit d4. So if he takes with the knight there, then I can take that with check. And if he defends it with something like c3, my idea is to go knight h4 and then go g5 to protect this pawn. So I'm taking rather extreme action in order to protect this pawn structure. So okay, this King's Gambit has finally landed us in a nice exciting position. And now I'm going to get castled on the queen side. And finally we can transition into a proper hack attack. Unfortunately, there's no point trying to hack your opponents up if you're just going to drop your entire centre and your entire position. So there was a lot of fiddling around there to defend this pawn on f4. But now I'm feeling that keeping this pawn was a good decision, and I should be able to get some kind of attack. Okay, g3. Things are starting to hot up a little bit here. If I take that and he takes back and I have to move the knight away, then I drop f5. Can I do something funky to avoid that kind of problem? I don't know. Maybe I can't. So I'm just going to come back and rely on the fact that at least after he takes on f4, his king will be nice and open. He recaptures with a knight, which I can't allow to come into e6, so I'm going to swap that off. And then castle queenside and attempt to make full use of these lovely open lines that I've been given over on the king's side. I'm not sure it's going to be enough for the pawn here, but it's going to have to be, because it's all I have. It isn't enough for the pawn, but oh, I don't like this. This is not going well. This is not going that well. Maybe I can play knight takes d5 first, and then after bishop takes, recapture and cover f5. He'll probably just take and then take on b7 check as a little intermezzo to pick up a pawn. But at least I don't drop f5 in that scenario. But okay, he's decided just to take on d6 straight away, which means that we're going for an ending again where I'm going to be a pawn down. So yeah, whatever I try and do in this matchup, my opponent's very, very experienced. Why is he offering me a draw? I don't know. I'm assuming he did that by mistake, because, you know, he's a pawn up and all. Why would he choose to offer me a draw? It's a bizarre decision. You know, if he's desperate for a draw, no, he didn't want it. No. I assumed that he misclicked or that that something would happen there, because he's just a pawn up in a rook and pawn ending, and you know, I have slim chances of holding it, but with his rook being this active, the chances are pretty much non-existent actually. You always want to be the one with the active rook in these positions, and as you can see, my rook is passively defending this pawn, whereas his is perfectly placed on h6. You know, he's doing a few things here and there. You know, it's not the cleanest way to do this, and there was no reason for me to check in that position there. So now that I've made that little error, it'll be falling apart pretty quickly. But he still allowed me to get this rook rather more active than he needed to. So he's making this into harder work again than it should have been. So, you know, I have the odd trick here. Oh, there was no sense at all in that move. Whoops. And okay, I'm going to need to resign. Why did I flick in that check? Oh, because I had 3 seconds left, that was why. Okay, and with that, my opponent takes a 2.5 to half lead in this mini-series. I'm gonna maybe try 2 more games against this guy. See if I can level it up and maybe force a final game. Oh, I almost forgot to play f4. Okay, f4, e4. This also doesn't work against the Sicilian. But, you know, my opponent's very generously played this move order. Which means that maybe I can get away with it. And we've got a Grand Prix attack position. And one of my favourites, 5a3. Not played by any good players, but played by me. Make of that what you will. I did actually persuade one of my students at the recent European Youth Championship to play this way. And he managed to win his game. So so I got away with that one a little bit. But then again, he wasn't playing FM Squirlolz. So, you know. The basic point of it is you give away this b4 pawn, and then I kind of forget. There was a secondary point, I'm sure. No. It's something to do with putting the bishop on a3, stopping him castling, going e5, and taking this d6 square. But I'm not really certain that I can manage all of that in my next move. Not sure. Can I go e5 here and just try and do one of them? Well, I'm going to do that. If I can control this d6 square or make him struggle to castle, then it might all be okay. I could actually play knight takes b5 in this position as well, which is interesting, but probably not that helpful. I'm going to take this off. So if queen takes d6, maybe I have knight takes b5. And if b4, then ... question mark. Knight b5? Knight b5? You know, that knight might not get trapped on a8. Well, okay. If I'm going to go down in humiliating fashion in this matchup, then I'm going to attempt to go down in flames. So we do have some entertainment at least. But I will tell you, quite concerned about the health of that knight on a8. He doesn't want to round it up too quickly, I don't think. There's probably no reason for him not to. But, okay, he is just going to round it up straight away. I thought he was going to maybe be a little bit more cautious than that. But there doesn't seem to be any way that I can give him the same problem with the bishop on a1. So maybe I'm just dropping a piece here. I might as well get a pawn for it. Maybe he wants this pawn on f4. Free pawn on f4 going? No. Somehow I didn't think so. I can go knight e5 here, or I can go knight g5. But this bishop on c1, which was supposed to come into the game after the pawn sack, has been lying at home doing nothing at all. Gonna try some tricks here because it's the only chance. I'm a whole piece down. I need to randomize the game somehow in order to get back into it. You know, just playing sensible moves is not good enough at this stage. Even bishop takes c3 is probably okay for my opponent now. In fact, that's probably what he's going to play. He's just double checking all the variations as usual. Very, very sensible decision on his part. Maybe bishop takes c3, I'll go queen d3. Meet knight f3 with rook takes f3. So, you know, I have a few tricks. And my opponent is suddenly only down to a minute against a minute 10. So, There are swindling chances he can't take the bishop on that square. Oh, so he just threatens mate. Yeah. I thought I was getting a little bit of play for a second there, but of course not really. What's the way that I can not lose everything straight away? That is the question. I don't have a good answer, so flicking knight takes e6. And then I'd love to play f5 or bishop a3 or bishop takes e6 or something really aggressive, but I'm going to take a timeout and avoid getting mated. If I can find a sensible move that achieves that, like queen e2 or like something. Wow, there really isn't a move. I meant to go rook f3 there, not that it makes a difference. It's all a bit hopeless at this stage. Oh, it's down to 50 seconds, but I've got 25, so that's not a big deal. His king's still kind of open. If I had more pieces, that'd be a real problem for him around about now. But I bet he hasn't spotted this f5 move coming. That's going to turn the tide. Ooh, and then g4 to follow it up. I'm winning back one of the piece and 2 pawns down that I'm currently. But, you know, I'd like to say I've come back from worse positions. It would be probably ever so slightly a lie. And knight e4 is going to finish it up here. Yeah. Okay, we're going to make it one last game in this series if my opponent's amenable to a rematch. And then maybe we'll take a little break. Okay, I haven't played a French in a while. That's the way for me to kill my... And he's going e4 and f4. Doing it in the wrong order, of course, but, you know, I appreciate the gesture. Okay, well, let's just continue on with the pawn moves for a little bit longer. We don't really need to develop pieces. Pieces are massively overrated. But, okay, we'll bring up some knights. Knights are quite nice. Okay, so we have an odd line of the French here, where he doesn't go d4 to take the centre, he defends e5 instead with f4. It's kind of a very dangerous way of playing, but I kind of think that the setup that I'm currently using is very adequate in defending against it. And he sacrificed a pawn, and he will be looking to get some tricks off the back of that. I have to make sure I don't allow horrible things to happen. Horrible things keep on happening, but we will see. Now I'm threatening b5. It's nice to have a threat. Maybe bishop e4 is a good move for him here. I don't know. What am I going to play against bishop e4? Do I have to retreat the bishop back to e7? He can take twice on c6. I go bishop d7. None of that's really that big a deal. Well, my opponent's certainly having a long old think about it all. I don't really see a big idea for him other than bishop e4. Do I have an alternative if he does play that? I could go a5, I suppose. He has gone bishop e4. a5 might be a slightly better version. Nah, I'll just go back to e7. Keep it simple. If my pieces aren't in ridiculously vulnerable positions, then hopefully I won't blunder them, so that's some kind of idea. Losing a little bit of control here. But I'm trying to keep his knight out of d6. That's a very high priority for me right now. But he's swinging pieces over to that area of the board. Okay. Maybe pushing d3 is the right thing to do. Make use of this d4 square for maybe a knight, maybe a queen. Well, why can't I just go queen d4 check now? He has to go knight e3 and then I take that off. I guess he's only losing a pawn here. Can I not take the knight on c4? Am I missing something?